roll call. I'll start up on the screen. We have Marissa.
Well, you gotta start with committee members.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, start with the committee members. We have Nikki,
Here.
Sandy Mangan.
She's a teacher representative.
Here.
Armand Medicia.
Here.
Is that on?
Yep, I'm here.
Yep.
Ed's on.
Oh, which Ed?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ed
No,
Corey. Ed
Ed
Corey.
Corey?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, Ed. Fiona.
Here.
I called you Ed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jess Richardson. Ellen Mahoney.
Sue's here on the phone.
Yeah.
Still don't know what her name. Ms. Toder. Aaron.
Sue's on there too.
Sue DePretis just announced.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sue DePrentice, I'm sorry.
You get John?
They don't get picked up.
And other John.
Yeah. And then we have central office staff, right?
You want to include them? Okay, we have Ally, Sue Ferguson. And what's your name?
Mud.
John Mudd.
I'd like to keep you on this meeting if we could. Approval of the agenda. I'd like to add to the agenda tonight. I need a motion to add discussion of CDC guidelines as they relate to facilities.
So we're gonna add that as.
Number E, I mean, letter E.
Letter E.
Letter E.
Letter E. E. Yeah, I gotta go to the back. CDC guideline discussion.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda. Anybody want to second it from the committee?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All. Approval of minutes. Can I get a motion for approval? Approval of agenda, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we
Approval
got
of
it.
our agenda. Can I get a motion for approval of agenda?
Yeah, we did. You mean the minutes? You're right, the minutes.
I
We
I
did
thought
do
I had it first and then.
No, we did. You
Okay.
did it. You're in order here. So
Okay.
approval of the minutes.
Approval of minutes, the motion.
So move.
Second,
I'll second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Public participation, is there anybody from the public that would like to?
There's nobody online.
Nobody? Let's move on. Discussion topics, update security grant. Johnny
Okay,
boy.
first one, security grant. We did get word from the, from Donna Labby. She got an email from her contact at the state that the state legislature has approved security grant funding of $10 million. The application for the security grants will be sent out sometime in April. And I know this comes at another part of the meeting, but just in case I forget it, I would like to propose that next meeting, we set up an executive session to discuss school security and get all of our ducks in a row for where we want to go with security grants and what we want to put in for money. And Ally will also be, during the tech section, she'll be addressing a little bit of school security, just briefly, a little overview on something that we've been looking at. She'll do it, no, and she'll do it in, under her section, under tech.
Is there a max on that, or are they?
You put in, you throw everything on the wall, and hopefully some of it sticks, and you get some money out of it, and that's the best that you can do.
It depends on how many other people apply for it. So that's how it.
Yeah, they're gonna slice the pie up based on what the needs are, so.
Do they give you like a sum and then you can apply that sum towards what your larger request was?
It's a reimbursement grant.
Reimbursement.
It's a reimbursement grant. So we would put in, we have to, there's a form that's got somewhere in the range of 800 questions on it that has to be answered. We just did this, we just completed our last security grant that we had when we did the camera upgrades and the last few things at the high school. So we had to answer all these questions. So the same thing, it'll be the same exact process again for the grant to apply for the grant. You'll have to answer all these questions. You'll have to put forth what you're looking for. What upgrades are you looking for? There's some reasoning why you're looking for these upgrades, and then you throw it against the wall and see what happens. So,
You have to report it by school. Each
Yes.
school is a separate item
correct.
for the grant.
It's very detailed, very detailed.
Fiona?
Is there a cap on what you can request
Nope.
from the district? No.
So.
You want $10 million? We'll throw $10 million on it.
Let's take
Ask
it.
for $10 million.
And they're not gonna give you 10 million, but there isn't a cap, no. But just like what was said, it depends on how many other schools across the state apply,
Yeah.
what they apply for, and then they're gonna look at the realisticness of what you applied for, you know, if you want, if you wanna hire a guy in a tank to patrol the grounds of the high school, they're gonna say, yeah, that's not realistic. They're gonna X that off the list. So they're gonna look at the reality of what you applied for.
I mean, if 161 schools apply, it's almost 70 grand. If everybody got something, it'd be
Right.
$70,000.
Right.
Yeah, I doubt it all. Well, who knows?
So they veto certain items
They would.
off of your.
Yeah.
It has to be reasonable.
Yeah, they have to,
Yeah.
Right.
they have to,
Yeah.
whittle it down
Yeah, if
somewhere.
you're requesting a howitzer for the front of Torringford, probably not gonna get it.
You want bulletproof, you think?
I don't know if we're able with the restrictions with COVID, but I know that there's some schools I haven't been in at the front, like the front entrance. Does it warrant or could we visit, the lobby areas of the school, of all the schools, just to kind of see what we're operating with, or maybe just me? I haven't been to everyone.
I mean, I think that probably the best part of that discussion would come in the executive session at the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to address that. And then we can fully
Good idea.
discuss those types of areas. Bring your questions.
No, I
On
think
school
I think
security.
She's asking if she can go visit now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nick, are
yeah,
you asking if you
certainly.
can go visit now?
Yeah, just because
Oh,
I
no.
haven't,
Because she doesn't,
Oh.
she's not familiar. No,
Not
that's what
because
she-
of
That's what she was
COVID.
asking.
she can't because
No,
it's
I know,
COVID.
that's what she was asking. He was
Yeah.
getting out to something different.
But since you can't go, this is the second best thing.
Yeah.
Bring all the questions that you want
Exactly.
to that meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about it then, right?
And Jess, please keep the list under 100.
Well, that should be nothing. You have to fill out an 800 question.
Really?
We all bring
I
100.
know, seriously.
Anybody else? Ms. Toder? Fiona?
I know. When they look at the applications, do they look at purely just what people are looking for, or do they take into account size of the school, economic situation of the
Oh,
town?
they, I'm not 100% sure, but what I can say is that I'm sure that at least what they would look at is what you requested before in the first, remember, this is round 4. So what have you requested for in your first couple of rounds they're gonna look at, are you requesting the same thing again? Those kinds of things. So, we have all that information of what was requested and what we asked for, but I think a lot of what I have now, which I would like to present in that executive session, you'll see isn't anything that we had already requested. And there is certainly going to be a lot of technology, which Ally will touch base on in a little bit.
Right. I think the other piece, that is where Alliance designation does help us.
Yeah.
Because we have a leg up.
So they won't consider anything that you've asked for before, even if you asked for it and then you weren't able to do it, but you still need it, they won't consider it?
That's not necessarily the case, but if you
Okay.
asked for a camera system at the high school, and then you went back and you asked for another camera system at the high school, it's
Okay,
gonna raise
gotcha.
flags, and they're gonna come back and say, wait a minute, or they may not even say, wait a minute, they might just say,
Denied.
Yeah.
you asked that in the last application, we gave you the money for it, it should be
Okay.
done.
Okay.
Oh, so if they funded something.
If
Right.
they
and
funded
then you
something,
asked for it again.
right.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you meant
Right.
they rejected it.
if
Yeah,
they
me
rejected
too,
it,
yeah.
you can always ask and ask and ask, but
Okay.
it,
Did they give you feedback as to why they rejected things in the past?
sometimes no.
There's
No,
probably-
they're facilitating $10 million,
Yeah,
you know, to 169 towns. So they, a lot of times they, if you saw the paperwork that Donna has to do, and, you know, she's asked me to, you know, come in and she hands me this book and she says, these are the questions we need answered. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna take me a month to do this. I can't even imagine that they read all of these things because there's that much information they're requesting.
That's the state you're talking about, John.
Yeah.
Of course they read.
And it's not only 169 districts, it's
Listen.
every school within each district.
John, if I
Right.
wanted sarcasm, I
Right,
would have
with
went out
all
to dinner
of
with you.
their individual-
Yes, Sally.
They actually do read it. I was lucky enough years ago to be drafted by the state to do a technology grant review. And you know, we're from multiple districts. Obviously, we couldn't review our own technology plan. But you have other experts, I would assume, with this as well, from within the districts, reading over these things and opening it up to discussion. So it's definitely going to get read and make sure it makes sense and is applicable for the schools.
That's good to hear.
That's hopeful.
Anyone else?
A for Ally.
At least for the tech grants.
Last meeting, it was granite curbstones. Now it's whether or not the state reads these.
Yeah.
Update window projects.
Oh,
The winters are back.
Okay. Real simple. We met with Castle Booze. Ed and I met with Castle Booze. I had an extended meeting with Castle Booze up at the site. They had several architects and some experts in construction on the site. We pulled one of the existing windows out because they wanted to see the detail of attachment to come up with the plans for what they want to do there. And they are currently in the process of developing the construction documents and coming up with a project estimate. So more news to follow on that, but it is moving forward. So.
all right. And do we have an estimated time of when that's going to be completed? That part of the process?
Next month.
We're gonna put it on for next month. I'm hoping that we would see something by next month. I mean, they had a lot of the drawings, the elevational drawings, and there's 8 different size windows. And what we did, just as a point of note for it, what I did was I went through each one of the windows. We went through the entire building and we went through every one of the styles of windows. And the classrooms will end up with a stationary, just like it is now, a stationary window. And instead of having their crank out window that's like this, they will end up with a half awning window that goes out like this. Okay, all commercial, all steel, extruded aluminum frames, insulated, low E glass in all of them. We looked at or looking into high security glass for the first floor windows. And hopefully there could be grant money available in that security grant for that as well. So this is kind of happening at a good time. And then the office windows where you had 2 casements that went out like this, we changed that to a slider. No more cranking out, no more moving out. It's going to be a sliding window. And that's basically the gist of all the windows. Most of the other ones are stationaries or they have maybe one slider piece that we're going to, but there'll be sliders or an awning. That's it.
Where are we with the city though, in terms of, is our money available? Or no, it's still not, she still hasn't released the money, has she? For the windows?
Ed, did you hear
Oh,
Gary?
Ed's on, that's right.
No, I didn't hear Gary.
Where are we with the city on that?
Well, the city knows our plan that if everything goes right, we want to bid it and have it done in the summer, if it can be done.
All right, but are we in a position to be able to get? Is the money available now, or what do they have to do? I mean, I don't want to go, we shouldn't go out and bid and then not have the funds.
Oh, no,
available.
no, no. They were supposed to, I gave them, as the building committee knows, we gave them the cash flow for the building committee. They have the cash flow for the windows, and they're doing the cash flow for their other projects in the city. They want to go out to bonding probably in May.
All right,
For all the amounts.
no, I know that. So when will they have the money by? We'll front the money. and they'll reimburse us, because if they go out to bond.
We don't front the money, they will front the money.
Well, that's my point. I don't think we'll be ready for summer if they're going to bond in May. I mean, it usually takes 60 days.
Well, we still, once you see what the budget is, we still have to go to the state to get all the approvals. We already went there to put the application in. They still have to, we want to make sure what the price is so that they can take all the diagrams to the state for approval.
Yeah, so Ed and I have a list of all of the documents that we need to go to the state with. And part of those documents are what Castle Booze is working on right now, which are the construction documents, the estimate. Ed's already done some of the letters.
Well, I believe, I know what I'm saying on the city, I would coordinate with the city, so.
It sounds like
So we don't prepare, well, no, we don't, if the city goes in May, I don't think we'll make summertime, that's all I'm saying. Might want to revisit with the city, we're not gonna be able to get the money.
But wait a minute, I think what I heard, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong.
City's
The
bonding
city, the city knows that we're gonna need this money, right? That this
Correct.
project's coming up.
Mhm.
So they know that they're gonna have to front the money until the bonding comes through possibly.
Right, just like they're gonna front the money for
Okay.
the construction project, they said. Yeah.
Right. So they know that and they're gonna, yeah, so it's.
All right, I didn't hear that part.
yeah, so.
Any other questions? Lions Construction Grant update.
Yeah, we just want to, and I think we'll show you pictures. One of the 4 projects, as you see, are in the stages, except for the refinishing of the gym. You can see before and after. If John, you want to, that's the part of the lighting project in the gym.
So this is the gymnasium. This is the new lighting in the gym. If you notice, it's a lot brighter than it ever was before. Pretty amazing, the change that LEDs make. What else you got, Ally? This is the original picture of the hallway before the lights and the ceiling was done. Next one, Ally. Another original picture of the hallway. You can see the staining and the.
And you see the spaghetti
Yep.
ceiling tiles, which.
Next one. This is as they're tearing it apart and putting the new grid in. There's that's in one of the hallways, and there's your new ceiling and your new lighting. Looks amazing. Amazing. A total transformation. This is the new lighting in one of the classrooms. Yep, the lighting looks great. It's very consistent. It's got great lumens in the room. And remember that our estimate is about a $52,000 a year savings in the lighting. So we reduced, from 32 watts to 7 watts per lamp. So great.
Beautiful.
And then, did you show the ones of the stair treads?
I did not get that one. Need the-
So do you want to speak about the stair treads?
So the stair treads, Ed and I met with the contractor. We picked a color, and there were 118 treads available. We needed something like 186 for the whole job. The remainder of the treads had to be ordered through Germany, is where they're made. So they're constructing the color to match what we picked. We got the 118 and we contacted this company and said, let's get started and do what we can do now while our schools are closed for COVID and we're remote learning. And so that's what they did. Do you have those pictures?
I don't, like, that one. I don't only have these.
Oh, okay. I would have to, I'll re-airdrop it in a second.
Okay.
We'll get those to
Or I
you.
can get them to the board still.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
speak about
I
the
can.
Project, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll airdrop them to Ally and she can email them out to the board, but the stairs look great. The treads were worn so badly that if you look between the old pictures and the new, you can see that the little circles aren't even on the old
Right.
treads anymore. And now we have those circles back on them. So,
Also, they're doing the landings, the landings are on order too. They have to get them from Germany also.
Wait.
I knew I sent them to you.
How old are the stair treads, John?
I don't know. Those treads probably go back to the last renovation of that building. When did they build the when did they take Church Street out and take Vogel Wetmore School down? Does anybody know about the time frame?
I don't have a year on that one. Long time.
That was in the 90s.
I'm guessing
Yeah,
that's
right?
when
Like
those
late
stair treads
90s?
were put in.
Late 90s. It was
Yeah.
a little
So
after
there,
they
so
did the
there's your
middle
new
school.
treads.
Oh, wow.
All right, and if Ally just shows the comparison, there's your old treads. Much different.
But that were also a safety issue as
Yeah.
well with all the cracking.
Yeah,
and
we had
the-
treads that were lifting and, they were cupping and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's definitely, looks fantastic. Looks fantastic.
Nice.
We did meet, just as an update for the gym floor refinishing. We did have a bid opening on Tuesday. We have a selected bidder. I've been in contact with that selected bidder. And he is eager to get going on the gym floors. And he's currently working on coming up with some schedules on what he needs in order to get ready to do the job and how long the job would take. And we may be able to do it, plug your ear, Sue, during COVID shutdowns. Hopefully we don't have any more, but if for some chance we do have an extension on our shutdown where we don't have kids in the building, we would be able to get the gym floors done this summer. Otherwise, we're looking at probably that April break.
The low bidder was Barrel and Conover. They really wanted the job. We spoke to them again. Their bid was $23,950. They were almost $8,000 less than all the other bidders. They really want the job. They're doing the stair treads. So we're really happy that came in below even what we put in for the state. The state we put in for 38,000 and it came in at 23,950. So.
And that was a
Do it
good,
in a week?
that was a
They
good
done that
estimate.
before?
That was a good estimate and for the state at 38,000 because the highest bidder was 37,000.
Yeah.
So we were spot on our estimating on that one.
Have they done gym raising floors before?
Yes. Yep.
And it can be all done and walk on in a week?
So what we're looking at is we're looking at about a week and a half total. But the biggest part of the job and the dirtiest part of the job is the sanding. Once I get out of sanding, even if we have only a week to do it and I have kids coming back maybe the following week, those couple of days are just the final finish coat days. So it's a coat and a dry, a coat and a dry. So it would be
Only
like,
2 coats, not 3?
oh, it's way more than 3 coats.
Okay.
They start with 2 coats, then they paint all the lines, and then they put 3 coats on top.
Okay, right.
Right.
And they have to dry
Rem-
weather and
In
all that
between,
good
right,
stuff.
in between
Yeah,
each coat, there's a dry time.
yeah.
Right.
So
The
we could still do it even when the kids maybe do come back to the building. We will work around those areas where we'll try to focus on the ones where we're using gyms for cafeteria space and stuff like that. We'll try to work around that to make sure that we can get this done, but we'll work with the contractor as much as he'll work with us to try to get a schedule to get it done in a timely fashion with a good quality of job.
Right, right.
just going to be difficult.
You're
You're
muted,
muted.
Ed.
You hit the button, Ed.
Ed, you're muted.
It's just going to be a little difficult to do the Vogel Wetmore because we're using it as a cafeteria. We would have to get rid of all the tables and also the auxiliary gym. It's smaller at the middle school that we can take that stuff out and do the floor.
Yeah. And the auxiliary gym has no lines in it.
Right.
So that job will go 3 times faster than the big gyms with the lines, because the lines is what's going to slow that job down. They have to paint all those lines.
Question, so with the money left over, we can use that money, correct, for something else?
Well, we would have to apply to the state to see if they will allow it.
Okay, all right. We're planning on doing that, I hope?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Tech update. Pick it up, Al.
So we, over the past few weeks, months, we have spent a lot of time in working on an E-rate project that we started over summer. And through that, we have upgraded our entire district-wide infrastructure to really allow for much, much greater bandwidth. We realigned our wireless network to current standards, and all of that at this point is complete. So at this point, we're looking into 21 E-rate for our WAN upgrades to link the buildings together at higher speeds. But with that now, we can really start looking into something we've never been able to do before, and that is to integrate certain parts of facilities with technology. We've always having to be careful not to overload our network through security cameras and other things. At this point, we're fully able to also have the power on the network, not just power in terms of speed, but also power in terms of being able to plug into the network and being able to get power out of it for cameras or access control. So what John and I are working towards is a system that is fully integrated, where the cameras talk to the access control talks to our HR system. So last week we completed a step with Frontline where we now have swipe cards, and the swipe cards become digital time clocks. And these swipe cards then can be expanded to become not just a badge for somebody that wears their picture. So in case of emergency, people are easily able to discern who belongs to the building and who doesn't. But then at the same time, that same swipe card will have access to the building. So if you have a new employee, they have a swipe card, it matches to not just building access, opening doors, given certain hours for different people.
Yep.
At the same time, it gives them wireless access. It's going to be all one synchronized system. If there were to be a retirement or termination, the moment that person gets terminated, all these systems cease to work within seconds automatically. And we just got those brand new shiny copiers. The swipe card will unlock the copier and give them access to their own files to print them again. So that's something we're working on to really start integrating facilities and technology. Also with swipe card events, you'll see cameras to see if somebody tries to get into the building. And I forget to breathe when I talk.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's really a goal to collaborate and work together, especially now. We're working on the visioning for the new building, and we'll be able to bring some of these technologies to the other buildings as well. So that's something where a security grant is going to come in very handy to write the spec for, specifically access control.
As much as I disagreed with analytics are the future of security. Yes. They totally are. Facial recognition, eye recognition, hand recognitions, these things, they're able to do things with analytics now with these new security systems, and not at major cost either. But with analytics, they can look at a picture and look at a picture even from a distance and say, that's Jess Risperson. They would know right away.
It's not even just that, it's crowd control.
Yep.
For example, God forbid, we still find ourselves in a pandemic or have to worry about crowd control. The cameras will have the ability to alert us if there are congregation hotspots where a lot of people are. So we need to then, John gets a message, hey, there was a lot of people in one spot in this cafeteria, maybe let's do some extra cleaning in there and things like that. So it has these capabilities, which is phenomenal.
That's when I call in John Kisko. He's my heavy.
So yeah, looking forward to collaboration and bringing security into the digital world.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it? But safe.
Also, imagine it'd be good for like an evacuation too, to know who's in the building,
Exactly.
where they
So
are.
along with that, not just having badges for people that are employees, but also looking in visitor management. where you see who is in the building, who's usually not in the building. And then at the moment we go into lockdown or whatever, we know exactly, we'll have who is in there, staff and non-staff, contractors, guests. We would have the whole thing and then know how to properly evacuate the building.
John?
Okay, well, with all this number of the beast stuff, we need a huge capacity, obviously. Do we have enough excess capacity or redundancy so that it will always work the way it's supposed to? Because these things are great until they stop working.
Correct. There's a lot of planning that goes into making sure all these things are redundant and working. Most of it goes into the power grid to make sure all these systems are powered at any point in time. So it's going to be extremely important that we consider uninterruptible power supply. So in case of a power failure, God forbid, these systems need to be up and running for at least another 60 minutes to properly evacuate the building, along with all communication.
Okay, and my other question is, the town has just announced that it's going to undertake a feasibility study for fiber optics in the whole city. Does that have anything to do with this or?
No,
nothing?
we
Okay,
have,
totally separate.
we are on fiber in and out of our buildings. All our buildings are connected through
Yeah,
fiber.
okay, I remember we did that a long time, well, a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago, 6 years ago, actually.
Okay, so the town and this are totally separate.
It's separate. For that, for the town, I would assume bringing fiber to the homes. I mean, from what the feedback that we currently get from our parents, their internet access is far from adequate. And bringing fiber into people's homes, directly to the home, it's something that Optum has been doing in places like Norwalk and other bigger cities. And having fiber to the home is going to dramatically increase people's internet capabilities, but especially reliability.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? I don't see any faces up there.
Well, the faces are there, but there's no
Yeah, I
hands
can
up.
barely see them.
But there's no hands. I'm like,
No, I know, Ed's not. Ed, you're all set?
Can you
Sue, you're
switch
upset?
up the view, Ally, so
Yep.
that Gary can see all the faces?
Sue DePretis?
Sorry, I was on mute. All set.
Thank you. E, which we just added. CDC guidelines. There's two things that I wanted to bring up, but John also brought something, well, one thing that John brought up was CEA has come up with a.
Well, the last couple of days, they've been, again, mentioning the way the buildings aren't kept as clean or as they were intended to be or promised to be.
My question for you, John, is I think I know the answer, but are we doing what we're supposed to do for the CEA?
We're doing better than what other school districts are doing.
that's the.
And
Is there a reason, do you think, that there, should we be pivoting with any way, shape or form? Because we have a problem with, with staff as it is. I mean,
no, what the service and the quality of cleaning that we're providing in our buildings are cleaner than they've ever been before, hands down. And, we've brought in the extra sanitizing company. They're doing a phenomenal job. They're very responsive when there's an issue. In a lot of cases, they've stepped up to the plate to handle an issue above and beyond their call without even asking for extra dollars. I mean, they are there, they're doing their job, they're wiping desks, they're wiping chairs. This isn't happening in a lot of other school districts.
I didn't think so. Are we considering some of the new CDC discussions about surfaces really aren't as critical? I know we don't want to go down that path at this point. We've already funded.
We
Yeah,
made a commitment to this company and to our teachers
Correct.
that we would wipe the surfaces down, regardless of whether the CDC says that either the surface to person contact is low. I think that making a change in what we were doing from right now to something different would really raise a lot of the tensions in the district that have settled down, that we've proven that we've done a good job. And yes, there's been hiccups along the way. We've addressed every one of those hiccups. You asked me before, you put me on the spot once and you asked me, would I send my kids here? Absolutely, 100%.
I mean, I think that gives us enough. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
No, and well, one of the things that goes into this is that it isn't just the CEA, it's this consortium of the CEA and basically the AFT. And the AFT towns are very different places, and the buildings are very different, and the conditions are very different than they are in the CEA towns. So I'm
What does
just
that
wondering
mean?
how much,
What's the difference?
Two different unions,
two different unions, they have the big cities.
Oh, the big city.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've talked to
Yeah,
a lot of, I belong to the Connecticut School Buildings and Grounds Association. We have like 98 members or something like that. I know a lot of these guys because we do the same job, so we share information back and forth and ask a lot of questions. There is quite a few of them that have really kept their custodial routines to what they were before COVID, that they're not doing this extra sanitizing that was recommended by Achieve, Adapt, Advance from the state of Connecticut. We looked at that document. We said this was the right thing to do. We weighed all the options with, was it worth it to bring our own people in? Was it worth it to hire part-time people? It just, in the end of the day, the best value and the best bang for the buck that we're spending on money, and Ed's right up there and he can confirm it as well, is what we're currently doing. And they're doing a fantastic job.
I think it's important we get it on the record so the public knows that we're doing what we're supposed to do. Do you think other communities seeing some of the new guidance are saying, well, we can cut back? We haven't done that.
They may be. We're not cutting back. We're not going to change. We made a commitment to our staff that this is what we were going to do. And I don't think that it's worth making a change at this point. I think it just is going to cause a lot of headaches, and it's just not worth those headaches.
This company has been fantastic for us. As John said, when we needed help, they came in. They didn't send us a bill at all. They do their thing, and there has been some hiccups, but those have been straightened out. And we've asked them one time to come back to clean up the Torrington School when we had a building committee meeting. Boom, they were there, no charge. They've been very appreciative of what we're doing for them and what they're doing for us.
They're actually even coming in here once every 2 weeks and providing a deep extra cleaning of this building at no extra cost.
I just think it's important the public know that we're doing, you're doing, and we're spending the money to, and keeping our promise to the staff as well, and the students.
And
we're not
I mean,
cutting back.
if you want to make sure that it goes on a record, if you want to talk about the other CDC guidelines, all of our buildings, we've met all the guidance, and anybody that would like to see it, I'd be happy to show you. And I showed you in our review when we showed you our building automation systems that all the fresh air systems are functioning properly. We have made the high school, as far as heating and ventilation, is better than it's ever been before because of a lot of hard work between me and the custodians who really have stepped up because we've had so much extra time on our hands. They've kind of stepped up to be more than just cleaners, but actually doing a lot of maintenance work with me and my guidance. So we've gotten a lot of the rooms that were overheating, that they had these windows that were wide open all the time, that's gone. I mean, all that extra heat in a room helps to promote the virus. So, we've addressed concerns where some of the rooftop units weren't working properly with ventilation. We got B building back up and running again. All of the schools, the ventilation systems are bringing the fresh air into the building the way they're supposed to. And we followed every one of the protocols that were put forth by the CDC. And we haven't backed down, and we will not back down.
I didn't think we did. I'd like the public to know that, we're spending the money. We may get reimbursed later, but we're spending the money now.
But more than spending money, I think my way we're doing what we're required to do to keep our students and staff safe, and that is the most important thing. This is a humanity thing. It's not just here in Torrington, it's nationwide. And I haven't followed, because I have a whole email list full of things that staff members have sent me. That extra humidity in the building doesn't promote the virus from spreading and stuff, but that's not anything that came from the CDC. it's, stuff that's come from the Business Insider because there's some company that wants to sell you humidifiers, so we followed those CDC guidelines and, with Sue's guidance and Sue and Sue's guidance and all the central office and Ed's been great. We've stayed right on track to do exactly what needed to be done to do the best we can do to protect our students and staff. And I think that it's a testament to what we've done in the fact that we've been able to keep our kids in school longer. Yes, we've had some hiccups in January here. Look at the positivity rates that are going on. But in a lot of cases, we've had our kids in school longer than a lot of other school districts have. And I think that's great because we know that that's where our kids need to be. So my department will do everything that we need to do to make sure that our kids can come to school and then learn from school.
Thank you. Yes, Tom.
No, and we've been hearing all along that there's no transmission inside the school.
Correct.
It's brought in from the
Correct.
outside. It pretty much stops here once it gets here.
Right.
And that's from the area, Torrington Area Health Department, right? You're getting that information from, right, Sue?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
terms of the cases, but
Yeah.
then we'll also have staff or we'll have parents call us and let us know if someone's tested positive.
Right.
So we contact trace from all of those different areas. And there has been an uptick. And that's been frustrating because we really had hoped that this week we would be back in session. And so fingers crossed, next week, we're all good because we miss our kids.
I'm a little maybe loud and maybe a little abrasive, but I'm passionate about it because I do care.
I agree. No, listen,
I do
And
care.
I
We've
just
had no
want to say,
complaints.
John, I think we've gone above and beyond in our district because we do
absolutely.
have the sanitizers and we, as Ed was saying, we made that commitment. We're going to continue with that. And we do feel like that's important and it does make a difference. So,
I just think it's important. We don't have anything that comes out like that should not reflect on what we're doing. And, news is news and it's
Correct.
important that people know that
Yep.
you continue to do what you promised you do. But I guess you segued into area health and just a frequent discussion. I want to talk about it. And I there's just some confusion as to, how we've had a lot of problems getting kids back in school because of a lot of, I guess, personnel issues. And I don't know the reason.
no, because of cases,
Yeah.
because of positive cases, not really because of personnel
It's
issues.
not contact? Well, I was getting into the number of cases versus, I get calls from people all the time. Why are we closing? Why are we closing?
Sure.
Can you tell us why? And I ended up calling area health today, which I know you guys talked, I think you talked to Rimbo.
I think Rob left you a message
Yeah,
about clarification.
But there's so much confusion
Mhm.
that I think is important that we at least express to the public what the guidelines are, what the requirements are, because there's flexibility and nobody talks about where the final determination. I've talked to the state about this. And I think our public, because it's not just one or two people that are calling and complaining and questioning and the politics involved and the fighting. I mean, we just need, in my opinion, because this is the Board of Ed, I'm not involved in anything that has to do with the conflict that may arise between, the teachers and the administration, or the Board of Ed and the teachers, or whatever else may come up. There's not complete harmony. We need to talk about that, I think, at some point. And I'm not going to, I don't know where we talk about that, but I think that needs to be talked about. But
Has there ever been complete harmony
No,
in
there's
your
not.
life, Jerry?
These
I was going to say, if
are
you've got the
exceptions.
market on that,
These are
please
exceptions.
share
I was
now.
going to ask the same question.
Occurrence last year.
These are exceptional times because I think parents are, at wit's end and kids are being hurt. And it doesn't seem like there's any real, solid answers as to what the guidelines allow and don't allow. And I think we need to determine that, not just you, but also with area health, to say that these are the parameters, because they say one thing, I hear other things, I don't know what they are. I don't know what we use as parameters, but it affects everything we do within the school system and it affects obviously our budget, but we don't know. We don't know what the checklist is, and we don't know who's telling us the kids can't go back and can go back.
What I remember every time that we've had a close or a talk about a reopen, Sue has always talked about her discussions with the Torrington Area Health District.
Well, they're on, that's my whole point.
Right. So she's always talking about that.
We always
And
collaborate.
obviously, you can't share too many details because there's privacy issues, but you do confer with them. And
Sure.
then they make recommendations, correct? And the
Well, you're making-
DPH, right?
You're making
So-
some, hold on.
But I can tell you what the process is.
Well, let me just, let's not conclude that the area health is always, giving the answer that we think we're hearing or we're not hearing, or that they have the right answer, because I spent an hour on the phone today and I got 4 different answers from 3 different people. I'll go with Rob because he is the head, he runs the show.
I wouldn't use names, just
Well, I mean, it
but
doesn't
because
matter.
we've got a variety of different things going
Um,
on.
But we need to have a solid checklist or a solid decision-making chart as to how we go back to school and how we don't, under what circumstances. And maybe you know what they are, but it seems like nobody else does from the state on down. So how are we making that decision, I guess, is the question. And how do we make that decision?
Do you want to jump in, Ellen, before I respond? Okay. So this is the dilemma, and it's been the dilemma since the adaptive, whatever the AAA document has come out, right? That it is guidance, and there's very, very little in there that are mandates. And truly, if we sat every health department down, everyone in Connecticut, and we said, so what's your perspective on the situation? And what's your perspective? And what's your perspective? And what's your perspective? You could get a different, if Fiona's Farmington and, Jess is Torrington Area Health and Ellen's the whatever, right, whatever different group, you would probably get 3 different answers. So the difficulty is that even within their group, they're having their own difficulties making a decision. So all we can do is get the advice from our Torrington Area Health, but it's not their final word. We work together and we collaborate and we say, okay, here's the situation. I have said all along, I am not an epidemiologist. I do not have any medical degrees. I am gathering this information. I am getting input. I sit every week on the DPH call with the Matt Carter, the epidemiologist, and the folks from the education department, and Lynn Sosa, also from the state. And these are all medical professionals who impart their wisdom. I can tell you, even on those calls, they have disagreements. So it is very, very messy. There is no cut and dry. I have repeatedly shared what the new quarantining standards are, and even the statistics. 14 days, if you quarantine, it's 1%. Right, your chance of becoming positive if you are not positive. It's 10 days if you're positive. That's the easy one. The craziness happens when you're not, and you're in a household where you can be exposed, or you've been in direct contact, and then you go back to your own house. So 14 days is 1%, is 0.1.
I'm sorry, so
Sure.
14 days
Is the
if
point,
you've been exposed?
if you've been exposed. These are only for direct contacts. So you have a 0.1% chance of becoming positive. If you quarantine for the 14 days. If you quarantine for 10 days, you have the 1.4% of being positive. However, you still need to monitor for the whole 14 days because you could become positive on day 11, 12, 13, or 14. The 7-day, jumps to a 4%. So when we are deciding as superintendents which group to use, because now in addendum 5, there's been an update. So it used to be 14 days and right, and these keep coming out. So it keeps, they kept telling us we had to do the 14 days. So that was their strong guidance. Was it a law? No.
From the DPH.
From the DPH. So then they switched it because in all honesty, they said on one of our Tuesday calls, it's too hard for people to quarantine for 14 days.
So we're lowering the standard.
I know that. I know
So
that.
I'm just trying to give you a picture of the crazy that's going on. So then we lowered it to the 10 days. So given that, So it also made it easier because if you test positive, it's 10 days and then you have that 1.4%. I feel very uncomfortable with the 7 days because then I have to make sure that the other person's going to check all of their vital signs and temperature and chills and fever and symptoms. And then they may be exposing somebody and saying, no, I'm fine, I'm here, you know, and then they become sick in that second 7 days. So what's
what is
been
the 7
really
days
good,
then?
I just want to,
Or
let me
something?
hang on just one sec. I think it's really important that we stress there have not been transmissions in the school. And I believe that there have not been transmissions because we have followed these stringent standards for quarantining. Because when you start to get fuzzy or you start to get into that 7 day, it starts to be of concern. Maybe as more people get vaccinated, we won't have to worry. Fiona, I'm sorry.
I want to understand, what is the 7 days?
So you
Percentage.
can
You did the 10, the
quarantine
14,
in
10, 4.
the addendum 5. You can quarantine for 14 days, 10 days, or 7 days. The recommended of all of those is the 10 day. But the 7 day, this came out about a month ago. So remember, it was like right before the holidays because they said it was easier for people to do the quarantining for a less period of time. Because what happened originally was the travel was a shorter quarantine than what we were being obligated to do at the schools. So the disconnect, then we brought this to the state and said, what are you, crazy?
Yeah.
Because how are we going to uphold this? So then they said, okay, it's just too hard, let's adjust. And then they gave us these statistics. So now I think we've reached happy medium and we go by the 10 days. So I just one other thing. Okay, I think there's also confusion between essential workers. Okay, those are hospital workers, people who work in nursing homes. They provide medical service to someone.
Essential
Okay.
critical workers, not essential. There's
No,
essential-
I'm going to say essential. There's two different things. Essential workers. I am telling you what we get from our DPH and what I get on those calls.
I just got the message.
Educators are critical force workers, which is why they are in 1B. So when we asked the governor and we asked at the state level, please, could you make educators essential workers? It will make it easier and we won't have to worry about a staff issue. They came up with what I shared last month. On December 3rd, we got this from Miguel Cardona, our Commissioner of Education, which said that Lamont had issued an executive order to provide a temporary suspension of a waiver request to process for substitutes without a bachelor degree. So that was their answer. So we will allow you to hire subs. So if you have your staff out, this is our answer to the essential worker question. We're not going to change that. We're not going to say that educators are essential workers. What we are going to say is we will provide you subs because now you can hire a high school graduate as a sub. So don't worry about your staff issues and people who have to be out because this will make it easier, which did not make it easier. I mean, it worked out for us because we have great, I'm going to call them kids. I'm sorry. I see them as kids. There are a lot, some of them are my former students or kids that I know, and they're great kids. And so they're coming and they're helping us out in a tough situation. It's giving them some good work experience. So I think it's good for the community overall, but this is a crazy situation.
All right, so there's where the confusion is, because the CDC guidelines, I'm saying essential critical workers are the workers that can go right back to work.
You cannot say essential critical.
Well, that's what
It's
that's what-
essential.
Look at the CDC guidelines.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
going to
I'm
say
But
that's
CDC.
right.
Different
CDC
than-
Point
is
of order,
different.
I don't know that a facilities and technology meeting is the appropriate place to have Gary Eucalito's COVID denial hour.
Ed, shut up. It's very simply put.
Excuse me?
I'm not gonna stop. You heard me. File agreements. First of all, I'm in charge of the committee, Ed, and don't accuse me of COVID denial. All right? And don't
Is this
accuse-
germane to the committee's business?
Yes, it is, because we're talking about facilities, Ed. Every penny that hits the bottom
I,
line.
I don't think we're talking about
Well,
facilities
good, you're not in
anymore.
charge of the committee, Ed. You're not in charge of the committee. I'm the chairperson. So I'm
This
gonna
is a disaster.
Well, right now, we're faced with a
Point.
disaster.
Right, just
Let me
point of
finish.
order, just
This is a
getting
Board
the
of Education meeting.
clarification.
I'm worried about our children and I'm worried about.
It's not a Board of Education meeting. It's a committee meeting about facilities and technology.
That's correct. In the facility, where do the students get housed and how do we get them there? And how do we determine who can be in the school and not in the school? Does that fall, where does that fall? Silence, as usual.
I didn't realize you were asking me, but it certainly doesn't fall under facilities and technology.
It falls under facilities. Sure it does. If the kids are in school, they could be using the facilities, but we're not in school. So we leave facilities open and empty. It falls into facilities. My point is, we need to know what the guidance is. And there's so much confusion, we need to get it out of the way now. Because when we sit in these meetings, we talk about CDC guidance. I've accepted the CDC guidance. The problem is, nobody knows what it is. And you'll admit that. I'm not blaming you.
No,
I'm
no,
going
I'm
back to the
saying
health
that,
department.
don't forget, we
My
have a
point is,
state, we have the state view of
I
CDC
know that.
guidance. And then we also have to follow what the Connecticut DPH follows,
And I spoke with
just
Michelle
like
Cook today.
CIAC has to.
And
I mean, there's,
I got some of my guidance from Michelle today. If you want to know it, you can talk to her about it. About bringing this, because we need to, as a board, as a committee, as a group, to sit down with the health department and decide what the parameters are, because people are losing their minds over where they're going to be during the day, how the kids will get to school if they have to go to work, if they can't go to work, when are they going to go to school, where are they going to be today? And nobody knows how we provide forward guidance if nobody knows what we can and cannot do. And it
Gary,
applies to
I
you
just
and it
have to
applies
say,
me.
I feel like I have kept people abreast of every decision,
I'm not
every
talking about
reason,
that.
every notification of every case, of every issue, so that people knew what was coming. The goal is to get us back in school next week, absolutely, positively. But I have to keep checking in with Torrington Area Health to find out what our cases are. Because if I
Of course you
have
do.
a ton of cases, it's irresponsible to just stay on December 14th, on January 14th. We're going back and I'm not even going to look at the numbers or what we have. I think at this point, I have been able to make decisions based on concrete information that I am receiving from Torrington Area Health or from my own school community to figure out what the cases are. I think we have to continue to follow that. And I know it's frustrating, and we're going on almost a year of this, and people have had it with
I'm
it.
not blaming you. You're missing the point. Let's just, I'm done. Let's not talk about it anymore. But I'd like to make a note to, I don't like call for that, because then it's dead. I want to
Let's
call
talk
for
about it
that.
after.
No,
After.
I'm done with quiet stuff.
Yeah,
We have thousands of kids in this town who are dying, and I want to bring it to the table, and it's always shut up, don't talk about it. I'm done shutting up. I'm done. I don't know when to talk about it, where to talk about it. I talk to area health, and they say it's on your shoulders. You talk about it, they say, let me finish, please. Let me finish. All right, we have a circle jerk going on, not because of you, but because there's no guidance. Michelle says one thing, we hear something else. And if you can give us the answer because you know the answers, maybe we could figure it out now, but I don't think you do. So let's come to a conclusion in the next week. Can we figure out what the real opportunity is to get these kids back to school? And what the real guidance is, because that is CDC. So who supersedes? Who can is the CDC superseding the state? Does the state supersede? Will the teachers have to quarantine if they get their vaccines? Can we stop that?
Yes, at this point, they still have to. And that's the guidance that we
So the
receive.
public needs to know that, because they're losing their minds. They need to know it's not us. It's not you that's doing this. It's not us. They need to go to Hartford if they have to. I don't know what they need to do, but they're losing their minds. Everybody here gets paid. They're sitting at home, not getting paid, watching their kids. And the kids, you know what really got this off this weekend? One salutatorian and one valedictorian. I saw this weekend, I said, how is school? They're both on full scholarships. This is what got me researching. They said, it's stupid. We don't learn anything. I feel sorry for the kids that have to pay for these educations because you don't learn anything. They graduated from this system within the last 5 years. I'm not going to say it because then you'll know who they are. They're disgusted by it. So then I start asking more people. We know kids aren't learning. Let's not kid ourselves. They're not learning. So I don't know what else to do but to make a ruckus. I don't know what else you need to do but to make a ruckus. What Ed can do, call the governor, because Michelle wants to get involved if she can. She says she'll help. Fiona's on top of it all day. We need to make a ruckus because we're going to be into May before these kids go back to school. And if we're vaccinating people and they can still quarantine, nothing's going to change.
We just had this conversation.
I know you did. So what
Tuesday
the public,
morning
I want the public to know
with the-
everything.
Okay,
The public needs to know because this can't go on anymore. Kids are dying. They're dying. We lost a generation of kids, damn it. And it's not your fault. I know it's not your fault, but I'm not afraid to say it's a mess. I know you can't say that, but I'm not afraid. I'm sick and tired of it. And damn it, we're not getting anywhere. Not you, but the city's going nowhere. The kids are getting nothing out of this.
This
And Ed, you want to do something? Go to Hartford and get the kids back in school. Nothing to do with COVID denial. Everybody in my family's had it, Ed. They survived, not denying it. I'm done. My point is the damn kids are suffering, Ed.
Oh, I'm just waiting for you to finish.
Ed. You don't care about the kids suffering, but I do, damn it.
Okay, Gary.
Well, then don't say things you don't understand, Ed. My point of order is over. Go ahead. Sorry, guys, but had to be said. Throw me off if you want.
Gary,
Ed, Alan,
I think the thing is, it's ever changing,
not an
And we're-
answer, Alan. Sorry, but that's not an answer.
but
You
that's.
can't tell kid, we have 4,000 children in this town. All right,
But
Trumbull's,
this
I can
town
tell
is
you towns
not-
that are open.
But this town is not alone in that.
They're not alone, but I can point to towns because my brother's in one that are
Okay.
wide open. All right.
Okay.
So a good friend of mine went back
There's-
into Britain
There's
today.
also different schools. within
Correct. That's my point.
Connecticut that are open.
But our kids aren't learning, so let's, whatever, my opinion, do whatever it takes to get them back. I don't care what it takes. Go to 7, go to 0%, because the most recent study says they're not spreading. And the study that was in was kids who were in school, not out of school. 100,000 kids joined, the Journal of American Medical Association came out this week. 100,000 kids, not a single spread. If we're following the science, damn it, let's follow the science. If you have the right to follow the science and not the governor's opinion, then follow the science, in my opinion. Because I don't know what else to do. We're wasting our time on the Board of Ed, because we're not making decisions that bring them back. You're being pushed on every side. I know you are. You're being pushed all the time in your office. I know you are. But at some point we have to say, damn it, we just have to throw everything overboard and go. We do, in my opinion. So, yes, go ahead.
I think there's 3 things. I think one thing is, I think you're talking about, which I agree with you, getting the kids back in school. And I think the public needs to push back in Hartford. They
Yes,
need
I
to push
agree.
back in Hartford.
I agree,
and
but they're not
make
hearing
more of
what's
a
going on.
Make more of a unified, conformed decisions. And the other thing is you're looking for protocols and procedures based on what would deem a shutdown.
What I'm saying at this point, because if you want to go with the CDC, go back. Essential workers are exactly what I pointed to. Just like a friend of mine who's going back to New Britain today, runs the math department, exposed. Their attitude is, or their policy is, take your temperature. We were talking about professionals. You can keep track of every other professional organization requires their employees, if they're critical, take your temperature. If you come with symptoms, you go home. That's what Steve has been told to do. That's what my friend has been told to do. If you develop a symptom after contact, you go home, monitor yourself. I mean, we have to get to that point. If it's illegal and we can't do it, fine. But if we're allowed to do it, we have to get there. How are you ever going to teach these kids? How are you going to catch these kids up? We're going to go summertime. Who's going to teach in the summertime if we go summertime? How are we going to pull that off? I'm not saying that's what we plan on doing, but what is the solution? And I know we're thinking about it, we're talking about it, but by the time actually somebody has a solution to the state, I know they don't have one yet. It's going to be next year. At least if we say, guys, we're going back, we're going to follow the CDC guidelines. And if the CDC guidelines say this, this, and this for essential workers, which they are an essential worker.
they are not essential workers. It's critical workforce. There's a difference.
According to the CDC, they are. Let's leave it at that.
According to the state of Connecticut, they are not.
Let's see.
We
I-
live
I
in
have the
Connecticut.
website. I'll send
And with
She can send it to
education,
you.
you go with state opposed to federal.
Now there you go. But anyway, that's another story. That's why I think a meeting should be had with the area health, people on this board, and let them say, these are your parameters. You can do whatever you want to do. If that's what they say to us. You establish the parameters, and then we discuss it. Maybe it's 7%. How, you know, we're in a position where we just keep telling the families we're going back. I'm not blaming you for this. They can't take it anymore.
No,
And I know you know that,
I
so-
do, and I want the kids back also,
So if
but I
we can
have to
say-
make sure that it's a safe situation.
Well,
So
who's
in
determining
all,
safety?
if we have a large number of cases and they just are consistent day after day after day, 10, 20, you know, that's a large number
But
of
the spread is
cases.
happening in the homes, not in the
Right,
schools.
it's in the community, correct.
Where do you,
She-
other
yeah,
communities,
Because we have been able to monitor it and keep the folks out who have,
there's no evidence to
been-
point to that.
I'm
I can
just
give you-
saying,
well, I know, but
look,
I'm saying. there's a
okay,
new-
so the addendums that we are supposed to follow, 5, 9, 4, okay, we're already up to 9, okay? Include the quarantine times. So
But has anybody asked if we can go with it? Because I was told we can go with the CDC guidelines. Has anybody asked if we can go with the CDC guidelines? I'm not trying to be difficult. You're
no,
asking me
I'm
how do we
just
get
saying
there.
that is not something that superintendents have been using. Superintendents
about
have
that.
been using the addendums that have been put
How's that
forth.
worked out?
We have had students who, or we've had to go to remote, sure.
Not just students, teachers and students, and parents and students. and-
Right,
So
but
it's
we're-
not working. So why don't we try something that the superintendents aren't doing that might work? I'm not, listen, it's not working.
so if
So-
we want to set up another meeting to talk about COVID and how we want to approach it,
It's gonna be too late. But Anyway. let's move on.
I'll reach out to our state reps to get something in writing,
Please.
and then,
I still think we should be with area health.
because I don't,
Because there's confusion.
but I don't think we can bypass those addendums, and that's, I think, what we need clarification.
Right. Like, where do we fall on that? What's the, you know, what can we do? I mean,
Well, it's up to
Can we-
us. It's up to the superintendents. We
well,
all
it
know
is,
that.
but I mean, is it realistic to do the 7 days? The recommendation is the 10 days at this point.
Well, they're saying none, that's
That's
where,
right.
What's
they're
that?
saying that people that are exposed don't have to quarantine at all.
Right,
If
right.
they're essential workers.
So why are we doing that?
Yeah.
Everybody else is doing it. You're missing the point. We're making excuses for not being there. God damn it. I go to the grocery store every day. You touch the fruit, you touch the produce. Those guys have been there since last March. They're kids. They're parents. They're adults. My kid's been working there since God knows when, March, his place. Everybody you go for your gas. They've been doing it. It's symptoms. You get the symptom, you stay home. The one place that doesn't spread, kid, is the schools. One of the few places. So whereas you started, I'm sorry, but you started this off, we started this last year with, we're gonna follow science. We're not following science anymore. We're just not. And everybody in the public knows that, and they're frustrated, and they're angry, and they're tired, and they're broke.
Let me get stuff, because I'm tired of this one saying
Right.
this. So
Yeah.
let us get something in writing from these people as far as what the position is. You know, they're trying to do the best, given the circumstances. But we need to get some clarification, because somebody saying something off the cuff, like, I think, to me, it's clear, are they essential workers or are they these critical? Because the guidelines are different depending on which of those
Right, the guidelines are
categories
very
they fall
different.
into. So someone needs to define how they're classifying our school employees, which of those two criteria, because it shouldn't be that one district is doing this, classifying them as essential workers and some aren't.
Right.
That should be clear, what our school employees classified as, critical care, critical workers, or essential workers.
But as the area health departments will tell you, everybody is interpreting their way. Some choose the CDC, some don't. And all I'm saying is, I don't care how the superintendents, no offense, I'm not pointing this at you, how a mass body of people make a final determination. I want to follow the science. That's what we're supposed to be doing. I want the kids back in school. I want them to learn something. And I'm not kidding myself. I'm not going to let anybody kid me that they are learning, because our two best students in the last 3 years came back from college and said, it's a waste of time and money. We're not learning anything. So anyway, it's not your fault. They were super, you guys were teachers of theirs, and you probably know who they are. They're smart kids. But they were back this weekend. And we're the Board of Ed. We're not the board of pacifying every group out there but the kids, in my opinion.
I think we all learned that.
I said my opinion. I'm not saying you don't.
No.
I'm
I'm
not saying
not
you don't.
saying you said.
But I think we reached the
I'm
point where the
saying
Board of
we
Ed
all
has to,
learned.
the Board of Ed has to ask a question. You know, where do we want to go from here? You know, and how do we teach the kids every day? And let's look at the science. Because it is clear now. It is.
Well, and I think with people saying, like, for me, I just feel like in general, the goalpost keeps moving, and it has since March. And 15 days to slow the spread is going to turn to 15 months. And now we're being told that even if you have a vaccine, you still have to basically conduct your life as if you are right now.
Yeah.
So we have to keep asking these questions, because for every month that goes on, we do have more evidence and more science that we can reflect on. And we will probably have to continue to reevaluate, you know, weigh the scales, the viral risk versus all of the other things that are going on with our kids and our families that are as damaging or more damaging.
Well, and you bring up the public. Well, people are being vaccinated. Well, once you're vaccinated, you gotta go back to work. And I don't think we should accept the fact that anybody can quarantine again.
Right.
Because if you're gonna quarantine, give the damn vaccine to somebody else. I got somebody who's lost his heart, has no heart, and has a heart pump, and he can't get one. So if you're gonna quarantine after you get a vaccine, which the CDC is not saying to do, but if the Connecticut's gonna do that, which they're talking about,
Which,
then don't get it.
you know,
Because
what's the
somebody
point,
else needs
what's
it.
the point of getting a vaccine if you're going to quarantine?
But currently, Connecticut DPH is saying,
Right.
even if you
I'm
get
just saying.
vaccinated, you will still
They're saying that already.
quarantine.
Yeah.
That is what they said on Tuesday. Now,
Right,
if
yeah,
it
no, it's
changed
not- it's not
tomorrow,
law yet.
I'm just saying,
I know that, I know what you're saying. That's why I'm making it public.
yesterday.
yeah,
That's what
that
we're
was
hearing from
yesterday,
national
long
level
time
too,
ago.
I think from
Yeah.
like CNN had an article, and basically after I read it, I felt like, okay, so you get the vaccine and literally nothing changes for you.
Right.
You know,
Well,
and that's.
so it's
I
pretty
think that, you
obvious,
think
but-
you also have to
and hopefully as
understand,
time goes on, things, that will change as
Right.
well, but
Right.
it just is so
I think you
frustrating.
also have to understand that one of the things that they're talking about, and when you talk, when you refer to science, is you've probably heard the word herd immunity. Okay, we're not even close to herd immunity yet. So if you get the vaccine, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get coronavirus. It just means it's simply like the flu. You're going to get lesser symptoms. You still become contagious. If you go back to the workplace and there are people who haven't had the vaccine, and you go back with symptoms and you give it to other people, then what have you really accomplished?
That's not
That's
true.
why they're saying,
There's been 63 cases so far of people getting the flu again after the vaccine. So that's just not, that's not the science right now. And the vaccine, my mom got it, my stepdad got it. They're out every day. They're in Florida, of course, not in Connecticut. You know, down there, damn it, it's wide open,
Yeah, it is. Been wide open.
right? And the positivity rate and the death rate is half of what it is here. They're following the science. We're not. So, not just them, but my stepdad's 94 years old. Go to the grocery store without a mask every single day. And I'm not saying he's right either, but Jesus, it's going to be June. You know, all I'm saying, we can push the limits if we have to, if we want to. If we don't, then kids suffer.
Well, we got to find out how far we can go.
Yes.
And what's a limit and what's a guideline,
Yeah.
and what's a suggestion and
Right.
what's a, you know.
Because, you know,
All right. Comments for the good of the order. Any questions?
No, interesting.
Comments for the good of the order. Herman,
nothing right now. Thank you.
sir.
once again, I love being part of the community here in Torrington. I still, even though Gary keeps us on our toes, I love being part of the community in Torrington. I thank you for committing to me and allowing me to work here. We've done a lot of great things. I continue to do it in the future, and I can't wait to see what happens in years to come here. I try to keep it light.
I really want to thank John and Ally. I think they've done a phenomenal job. Our facilities, our technology are in a place where they've never been before. So huge gains there. So many thanks to you and your teams. That's great.
Ms. Sue?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Ms. Toder?
I'm good, thanks.
Mr. Aaron? Is he sleeping?
He's mute.
He's muted.
He's in shock.
Is he
I
awake?
think he's
How
just
sleeping?
frozen.
No, I think he's frozen.
Frozen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you hope, great.
Ms. Mangan?
I do have a couple of comments. Number one,
You could have interrupted.
no, I'm all good. These are my comments for good and
Okay.
order. Number one, children are learning. Number two, I appreciate the fact that our district is staying with our plan for keeping our sanitizers in place and putting the safety as a priority in our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed's frozen. I don't know what he is. Nikki?
I'm all set, thank you.
Ed?
He's still frozen.
I'm gonna save the better part of what I have to say for another meeting, but I do just want to remark that the conduct of the chair of this meeting has been absolutely reprehensible, and I would love to see this committee chaired by somebody better qualified to lead it at its next meeting. Thank you.
Well, we can ask you, Ed. You're more than welcome to sit down. I'll give it to you for the night.
No banter, guys.
All right, Ed. We'll talk. I'll bring you to lunch. We'll talk about it.
I'll pass.
Marissa?
Comment of the night right
Oh,
there.
Sue, I know. Sue D?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Ally?
What John said, thank you.
Donna?
And that's it.
I don't have.
Jess?
Ditto, Jamie.
John?
Interesting meeting. That was my comment. for
All
the
right, well, I'll say that, number one, I'm not here to make friends. I'm hopefully here to make the education system better, but
work tonight.
there were two kids who I met this weekend. I won't say their names. But they came through the school system, on full scholarship. They sat with me for an hour, the two of them. And they are so mature, and they represented exactly what they got out of the school system. They're so bright, so mature. They're only 2 years out of school, I think, maybe one. And they carried on a very, very intelligent conversation, and they were just wonderful. It was, they're just representative of what Torrington puts out there. So it was a great weekend. Topics for future meetings. We have the school security grant, executive session.
Executive session, yes.
Windows update, right?
Continued updates on all of the things that you had here in the meeting. Windows, security grant, Alliance construction grant, would be updates on all of those. Ally, anything tech-wise?
No.
Okay.
Motion for adjournment.
I move it.
Second?
Nikki
No, I'm
raised her
sorry.
hand.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Ed's back on another screen. He's got a split screen going on.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey, Ed.
you been drinking, Ed?
Yeah. I don't know. That's a good question.
Ed, you there? Aaron?
Can you hear us?
I'm here. I lost you for a little while, but I'm back.
Off and not listening to me.
Better than ever.
All right.
Okay.
Anybody want to take a break for a second?
21 at 7:20 p.m. Roll call, Ms. Fapiano,
Here.
Mr. Corey,
Here.
Mr. Ucolito,
Here.
teacher representative, Jason, and I'm here, of course. That's the committee, and then we have several other board members. Central office, joined by Ms. Klebaszewski. Okay. In addition from central office. Anybody else that I missed from central office that's online now? No? Okay. All right.
Kathy.
Yep, we got Kathy, same board members as before, except for Ms.
She just
Richardson.
came on the screen.
Yep. So. Okay. Approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion for that to approve the agenda?
So moved.
So,
Nikki waved her hand.
All right, you want to second it?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Who made the
Aye.
motion?
Aye.
Nikki.
Thank you.
Nikki was
You're
moved it, Gary seconded it. And then approval of the minutes from last month's meeting. Very detailed minutes. Very impressive minutes.
John Merce.
Might be the best I've ever seen.
I heard that last month.
I know. She's up in her game. She's up in her game. So sets the bar higher every month. That's what I like to see. Excellent.
so moved.
Nikki, will you move that? to
Yep,
approve it?
yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. And public participation. Do we have anybody online? No, okay. Yeah. Discussion next steps. Monthly financials.
Okay, if you look at page 1 and 2, just going over the financials, our surplus has increased to $714,981. A couple things that we're still waiting for is Social Security and Medicare. We're just filing the second quarter 941s next month. We should have a better idea of where Medicare and Social Security are. Later on, I'll go over where we stand on electricity and gas and how much we're looking to save on those. So we're in good shape so far. As you can see, and we'll go over when we go to COVID, that we receive money for substitutes, cleaning supplies, and the sanitizers. So I'll go over that when we deal with the COVID expenses. The third page is our special ed tuition analysis. Even though our tuition did go up, we're still under our budget from our original budget. We're still under our budget, and we're still looking good, even though it did go up about $90,000 because of finalizing some of the contracts that we have. The next page shows you again where the number of students. We have 91 right now. Remember, the 91 means that some students could have been in 2 different locations, so we had to pay 2 different prices after they left after X number of days. So we see that we're still down with suspensions, DCF placement so far. We're down, and this is always a difficult one. The court placements, we're down. Exploration, we're also down on the number of students there. We're down on magnet schools, as you can see. We're down on the VOAC schools. So if you can see our total, and we're down on Techs by 10 students. So if you can see, at the end of last year, 751 students, we have 677 students who are, I'll call them outplaced or wherever. And on the bottom, you see the actual cost for the last 2 years and our projected cost this year so far. So again, we're still under our budget on projected costs.
Okay, Ed, we have a question here. Hold on a second.
Okay,
Go ahead.
The miscellaneous expense for page 2.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Miscellaneous expense on page 2. 333, 628. What is that?
Right, that's the sanitizers. remember, we wanted to keep the sanitizers separate.
Yeah,
And I'll show you on COVID, that was over $400,000, and we received about 160,000 in reimbursements from the state. We wanted to keep that line separate, so everybody knew where the sanitizers are.
And how about the number above it? I'm looking at the big numbers, that's the 237,901, other professional services.
Right, that's for 5340. There's a number of items that are in that group. We do have physical therapy services is in that group. We have speech and language substitutes long-term. We paying Soliant. We have a social worker sub who's on long-term. We have BCBA services on there. So those are some of the items, and we have evaluations in that line.
Okay.
And you'll see when we go to the Kelly and all that, where we stand on a monthly basis.
Thank you
Thank you.
on that one.
Going back on page 5 is our transportation. We're up about 27,000 from last month. As you can see, I did take a reduction in the athletics because we didn't use that in the first winter months. So in the fall months. So that shows, again, I list the credit from All-Star and a reduction of 4 days. So we're still under budget in transportation. The next page 6, gives you the Kelly services. As you can see, on the first line, the 5341, we did receive $70,000 back from the COVID expenses, and also 5342, we received $8,400 back from the COVID expenses. The next line is the 5340, which are all those BCB, social work, and so forth. So just for argument's sake, if you took the 2 months, the 85,000 and the 37,000, and you averaged that out, that was about $61,000 or $62,000 a month you would use, so to speak. We'll see in January. If you times it by 6 months, that gives you $371,000 of expenditure income. If we use that, it comes to total of plus the 143,000 comes to 514,000. We would be over budget by 140,000. Just wanted to let you know, we're watching that every month. If you look at the next lines, we haven't spent any money. The next was 28,000. We've only spent 3,400. The next one, 4,000. We haven't spent anything. The next one, the 534201, 80,000. We've only spent 25,000. And the next one, the 512003, the budget of 20,000. We've only spent 20. We haven't spent anything. So if you look at the totals, there's 141,000 that we've spent in the first half of the year because of the reduction we got from the COVID expenses that we submitted, and we'll show you the 574,000 we got. The next one, if you look at the electricity, if you look at the last page, which is page 9, right there, we've gone through 5 months. We spent 337,000. That's about $67,000 a month. If you times it by 7 months left, we would have 810,000 or a $40,000 surplus. We haven't reached, we haven't got into December, January, February. Remember also, once the lights are all in at the middle school, we should start saving some more money. So we'll look at it next month. Right now, we would probably save $40,000 if everything is going the way we're looking at it. So we haven't put that in as a surplus yet. We want to wait 1 more month to let you know. If you go to, I'm sorry, yes.
That 40,000 is for year to date or for what you're projecting for the full year?
I'm projecting for the full year.
Thank you.
The next one is natural gas. We spent about 101,000. It's a little deceiving because we use more natural gas during the cold winter months. We haven't had that much cold. Let's just say if we stood where we are, we would have probably an $80,000 surplus, but I don't think that's possible yet. So if you look at the last page, next page, right there, we only spent 101,000, and if you times that, if you divide that by 5, it's only $20,000 a month. We're going to spend more than that. We'll look at what the December month is like. But if it stays at 20,000, we would have a $80,000 surplus, which I do not think we're going to have, but hopefully we would. So that's natural gas.
I want to elaborate on that because I did some math in the office before I came in here, because a lot of times you look at these spreadsheets from Ed and there's lots of numbers on there, but how do you decipher those numbers or know where you stand or what you're doing? Everything in getting natural gas and oil is done on degree days. To present, to current in this year, we used, there's been 1,893 degree days. And we've used 88,309 CFF. That's 46% is what the difference is between degree days and CFF. We're actually doing really good because in previous years, in the year before to this date, the year before 2019, 2020, there was 20,078 degree days at 77,518. The percentage was only 37%. So we've improved about 9% in reduction on gas. So we might see some savings this year. And a lot of that attributes to those systems that we've put in and taking control of our buildings and doing the setbacks when they needed to and stuff like that. So I just wanted to add that because it kind of adds a little bit of clarity to what you see in these spreadsheets from Ed.
Right. Remember, the board gave us money in the capital to do all the items, and we saw those when John gave us those pictures of each school and how he can control the heat and so forth, which is a great thing that the board has given us to do that. And the last control in the grant that we're getting will be at the Vogel Wetmore. We'll put that in very soon.
Any other questions? Nikki, Ed?
Excuse me?
No, Ed, Corey. Nikki or Ed, do you guys have questions?
No thanks.
Mr. Lafreniere?
Just the only is looking at the budget expense report, just a few lines that are well over 100%, which I know they'll even out, but is there anything outstanding there that really came about that we weren't expecting?
Well, just there's only a couple. Really, it's the 553.40 and the 159.50, which we did not budget for because those are the sanitizers.
Okay, that was going to be my big question. Was the 53.40 on page 14?
Yeah, I went over that.
Yeah, that's what I was figuring, and that's why I didn't bring it. I was thinking, I realized you brought that up. So that's all. Thank you.
All right. Next, COVID-19 expenses.
Yeah, COVID expenses. If you look at the COVID expenses, they put it on the screen. We received the grant of $574,451.17. And we still have to fill out the next one, remember, it's all expenses up to December 30th. That means purchase orders and all of that, and payment within 90 days after January 1. So we received the 574,000. We have approximately about $60,000 to $80,000 left. We're getting all those bills and invoices together so we can set the next payment process. We can't submit anything until we give them the check number, the invoice number, and so forth. It's a long process. But if you look at the first line, the state 172,000, we received already 161,000 of that share. The next one is the two teachers, the 79,188. We received total of 79,188. You go down to the 404 supplies, we received 334,000 of that already. So 574,000. We have one or two more payments before the 90 days are up to close out all of the COVID expenses that was started in March to December 31st. And they were very quick in paying the bills. Once we gave them the spreadsheet of 20 to 25 items across the spreadsheet, within, I would say, 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, they sent us the money. So we're happy about that.
Ellen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm lost. Where does it show the 575?
Oh, right here. Right there.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
574, gotcha.
Right. Yeah, what's that? Oh, okay. Jason, go ahead.
The monitors on buses, are those employees that are already in our buildings anyways? Do we pay them when we're not having bus runs?
Yeah, it was only, right now, there was only one that I remember. We don't get money from the state. At the end of the year, we'll find out what that total cost. That's an estimate of $7,000, which would probably be less than that.
Okay.
Nikki.
The 262, 540 there, is that what you were referencing when we were looking at the Kelly services under that 5340?
Yes,
And is on your Kelly services, the budget that you put to the left, the total yearly budget? Are you deducting it from that amount? Because right here, like it shows 374, but then on the budget file, I think it's more. So is that because some of it's getting charged to COVID?
correct. Next month will be a much easier month because we took that $79,000 as a credit, and we'll see what the next month's going to look like.
You all set, Nikki?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
But we were happy that we got the money right away from the state.
Ed, Corey, questions?
No, thank you.
Anybody else questions? Fiona? All right. Okay, thank you, Ed. Budget update, how we doing?
Which budget?
Just
The new budget.
General, the budget, like the next year's budget.
Yeah, we're working on it. I spent all day today verifying all the personnel on the budget. Works out perfectly with our new position control that we have now. So we're still working on it. I don't know if Sue wants to mention anything.
Yeah, we're still getting used to position control. We're really happy. We'll be very happy once we get 1 year under our belt, because we've had to check all the data and make sure that it's correct. But we're moving right along. We're on target. In fact, I think we're a little ahead of schedule. Probably shouldn't say that. And just so that we can get ready for my presentation at the end of next month.
So So you're on track for end of February for a budget presentation
Yes.
to the board, correct?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Minichia?
Yes, go ahead.
I know that I missed last month and I apologize for that. And I know that Mr. Aram, you shared some sort of a calendar. Was that anything that was specific to just the budget committee? I didn't get a copy of that, just so I could be prepared for meetings that may be coming up.
Oh, okay. If you ask Brian, he has it in his budget worksheet folder.
Okay, I will ask him. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on the budget timeline update? That sort of thing.
Sorry.
If you wanna-
I was gonna be quiet.
Sorry, I was gonna ask, I was gonna go to you at the end anyway.
I just think we're probably gonna have to start thinking about what our public hearings are gonna look
Yeah.
like. So
How we're gonna
maybe
do
we
that,
put that
yeah.
on for next month, just to
Right.
figure out what
How we're
we're
gonna do
allowed
that.
to do, not allowed to do. We're not supposed to have people in the building, so
Yeah.
kind of so
Well-
that people understand the process, because
Right.
it probably will be different than the normal process.
Yeah. What has the city been doing currently? Like if they've had a council meeting where it's might have more people wanting to attend, how?
They've been mostly Zoom.
Zoom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All of
so
them,
we're
yeah.
probably gonna go in that direction then. I would say right now, knowing what we know,
Yeah.
it would be a Zoom. So we would have to definitely include Ally in any discussion we have. So, right, Ally? So,
And that's what we did last year. also.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the way I see it, that's the direction we're gonna go. I think, as of right now, we're gonna have to go Zoom. In order to captivate as many people as possible. Right?
That might serve us better. Going Zoom.
Well, we might actually get more people and actually, better participation in the,
They'll show up.
yeah, that's what I mean. So I think we
Kinda
plan
hard
for.
to manage if you get a lot of people,
It
and
is.
so
It
we
is.
might want to consider comments. being
Well, we
sent
can,
before
right,
to
and
try to
that's
organize
my
it.
my thinking is, well, the meeting would be Zoom, but obviously if people wanted to send comments prior, they could do that also. Because some people they don't want to speak, they just want to have their piece heard and they don't want to actually say it, they just, so we could read them at the meeting. So that's
Same
not,
as we did last- That was that before we went to the new schedule, when we had everybody writing their letters.
oh, yeah.
People could still
Yeah.
call in, I just
Yeah.
think
Right.
it's easier.
People did both.
if you
Yeah.
can-
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Just-
no, yeah,
Just letting them know
yeah, let them know how we're doing it and,
what the process is.
but I think that's what we plan for right now because I don't see it changing in the next 2 months, 3 months. So, that's my personal feeling. So, yeah.
Get
So we'll
ready
set
for
it
a
up.
lot of reading, Fiona. You did a lot last year.
Not
What?
me.
No, it'd be
There
me.
they are, and-
It'd be me. And we can probably set up a specific email for that, right, Ally? And so it'll all go to that one email for budget hearings. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Is that what you wanted to do? Budget hearing?
It's easy for me to remember, so. And it would probably make sense to the public because they are budget hearings. So if they're thinking of what the email is, they would think budget hearings, right? So. Nikki and Ed, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think people are more used to it. I think we'll get more comments. We've shown that. And I agree with finding a solve for getting them out there, but not having to go through and read everyone. I don't know if we're able to do that. I do think the city does a little bit of that where they don't read every comment that was written in.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I thought they had to.
They're not.
No, they're not.
Yeah, I don't think you have to. I know the legislature in Hartford, when they have hearings, if you send in your testimony in writing, but don't appear before the committee to read it, it's not read into the record. It goes into a binder that each member of the committee receives in advance of the hearing, so they can read through it. And then we don't necessarily have to do this, but the staff will also, as legislation advances in Hartford, they will compile like a short briefing of, there were a significant number of people who were opposed because of this and that kind of thing, to also give a synopsis.
Okay. Yeah, that was my thought. If we didn't have to read them all, is to kind of categorize them and just talk about what the category spoke of. If people were for, more teachers or less teachers or whatever their thoughts were at that time. Okay. Sounds like a plan. Mr. Lafreniere, yeah.
My only comment would be that if people have taken the time to write in and we don't have an exorbitant amount of comments, that those get read out loud. I know that I've written in comments to city council meetings, and granted, I'm not a resident of Torrington, but it was dealing with school-based issues of which I'm an employee, and my comment wasn't read. So I just think if we're not looking at a lot of comments, that I think it's important for people to know that their comments are heard and read, because sometimes they may just think that they were submitted and nobody read it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, if we get 100 as opposed to 10, that would be two different scenarios. But yeah.
But in the same vein, if we were in person and we had 100 people talking, we would be sitting there listening to 100 people talk. I think it's important to acknowledge that just because we're virtual doesn't mean the process should change necessarily for convenience.
Okay.
Especially budget, we should hear everything. The public should be heard. All the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. So some reading, Gary.
Yeah, I like this.
Okay, good. Out loud.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Tonight,
It's hard to hear the conversation that's happening.
Oh, no, I was giving him an assignment for the budget hearings.
I said I agree, we should read them all.
Yeah, right.
And it's, the people should hear, good or bad, and he
Yeah.
said he's gonna make me read them all.
Not all of them, some of them. So. I'll read some, you'll read some. 2019-20 student activities.
Yeah, you asked for the synopsis of the PTO counts and the student activity counts and the people who are in charge of those accounts. So that's the end of 60/30/20 2020 year. As you know, our accounting firm audits all of the financials of the student activities, and they found nothing wrong. So as you know, we get the bank statements, we reconcile the bank statements, we put all the things together. I sign anything that's over $500. I have to have the invoice and a reason why. So your 20-page student activity authority and is valid, and I would submit that this is a clean audit that the city did.
Ed, I have a question. Why is some of it highlighted in yellow?
That's because it's a PTO account.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I don't know why the others are. It's always been yellow. We'll take it out, those others.
No, I don't care. I was just wondering why.
Yeah, the ones on the left should only be the PTO accounts or the project graduation. The person in charge should not be in yellow. Sorry.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Yeah.
I have a question on, some of these are out of line. For instance, music department, the person in charge is Pat Strawson. And nursery school, the person in charge is Wayne S. And there may be a lot more. It may go a lot further down, but
I gave this to the high school, so I'll give it to them again to make sure that it's correct. I did not go through all the names. I made sure that they gave me this back. I will check that out. Thanks.
Yeah, ask them to check the names specifically, please. Because we've had an issue in the past where,
No, I did give them this for the names, so
oh,
they
okay.
must have made a mistake on a couple of them. I'll redo it again. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just one simple question, who reconciles all those? Yeah, that's.
Our accountant that we have, that we just hired.
My God, that's gotta be 2 days worth of work.
High school.
Wow.
We get the bank statements and we reconcile it. They give us their forms and we check it out.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you. Fiona?
I just have a question, because I think COVID has generated a lot of these issues, complaints. Part of the policy is that when people are doing fundraising, they have to put on the fundraiser exactly what they're fundraising for. And I've got a lot of calls from people not understanding why we're running a lot of fundraisers in the schools when there's no events or things going on. So I think that when this is shown and you look at the amounts that are in the accounts, I think we're gonna have to really justify more all the fundraisers that are being done and what that money's being used for. And I think because people are having some financial issues, it's becoming more of a kind of salt in the wound. So I'm not sure if we're sticking to that policy, so that one of the items that's come up over the last month, there's been some confusion on if there's unified fundraisers rather than a bunch of different fundraisers, and spirit wear became an issue because some school was selling it and it was much more expensive than the other school, but they didn't know what the spirit wear, where the money was going for that. So I think it's just really vital that the groups are making it clear to the people buying the stuff what they're fundraising for and what the money's going to be used for.
And I think also, just to piggyback on that is to make sure, like if they're raising it for Friendly Hands Food Bank, let's say, that there's a check made out to Friendly Hands Food Bank and that we're checking that. I know it's a little more work, but I think we need to be diligent on that. You know, I don't think anybody's doing anything wrong or anything. We just need to just make sure it's done because we are beholden to the public on these funds. So
I think because of COVID, we should think about funding some of these. I mean, it's a student activity account. If we're saving money because of COVID related shutdowns, well, if at the end of, if there's no money available. They've lost the ability to fundraise by and large. I don't know how it's been impacted, but if people can't afford this stuff, we should take some of our savings, in my opinion, and make sure these students have some activities, have some funds in their activity account.
go ahead, Jason.
As someone who does a lot of fundraising, especially for the DC trip, this is one reason, this is a year where it's been great. I had 2 previous years for the current 8th grade to do fundraising. And that's why I start fundraising in 6th grade and hold over money, because this year's trip would be very, very difficult for a lot of our families had I not offered 2 years worth of fundraising prior to this year. I have not done any fundraising this year because we were told that it had to be contactless, completely contactless. It's almost impossible to find an organization that will fundraise a product where they ship directly to, there are a couple, but it was best at this point to not do any fundraising this year. Thankfully, I've had a pool of money that I will be able to help out those families who are asking for that financial assistance. But you're right, there are groups that are suffering because they weren't able to do fundraising, but in the same vein, we're not doing really any activities that are requiring students to have those funds. So I just wanted to bring that up as someone who uses the student activity fund quite regularly.
And I think just to add to that, I mean, on the fundraisers for DC, it's very clear what you're buying. I think the other point I'd like to leave with is equitable services across system. You know, everyone has to follow the rules. So as Jason was saying, you know, they're not doing things because of the contact listing, you have to follow the rules.
Yeah,
So you can't go in the back door and do things and, you know, possibly run things out of people's garages, not under student activities.
right.
So follow the rules or very consequences.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Because,
kind of, sorry.
yeah, no, I agree with that. I didn't know any of that was going on, but yeah, no, you need to, everybody needs to follow the rules. It needs to be equitable. If you're not gonna, then you can't fundraise. I mean, that's it, shut down, I guess. Because it's not fair and it raises more questions and more concerns than needs to be. Nikki?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is there rules, like I heard you saying like that people know what you're fundraising for, but what are these rules that you're,
It's in the student activity policy,
okay,
so it outlines exactly what you need to do to be under student activities.
and PTO follows that?
If you're under the student activity accounts, yes.
Okay. And then just one other comment. I know the report that you just showed is through the end of June. So a lot of the fundraising that went into play last year was already set up because I know for the elementary schools, we did a lot of district-wide fundraising. But unfortunately, those events that those fundraising provides weren't able to happen. So the balances that we're carrying are much larger than what we have in the past.
Right, and I think the questions have just been, understandably, is if we weren't able to expend those funds, why are we continuing to do fundraising?
Right.
So, and it may not be an issue for all of our families, but it's an issue for enough of our families that I think we have to.
Yeah, you need to be cognizant of it because especially if you're selling like spiritware and they can't buy something and their kid doesn't have one. I mean, you know, it's, you know, we got to look out for those kinds of things now, you know, with the tough times for a lot of people. So that's all.
Are we, as a board, setting direction that we don't want to do like spiritware? I'm just, you know, I'm part of the Torrington PTO and it's confusing. So I think if the board has direction, maybe that would help.
What I'm saying regarding the fundraisers that have went on is that no one knows why what they're fundraising for. And to be under student activity, you need to tell the parents what you're fundraising for.
Right.
And it could be, you know, I'm just gonna use Southwest was doing a playscape. So for years, all their fundraising went to the playscape and parents knew I'm buying this sweatshirt and the proceeds are gonna go to the place. We can't just fundraise to fundraise without letting the people know, and that's clear in the policy.
Yeah, and we do as PTO provide a document at the start of the year when we talk about the events that we hold and the money that goes to the teachers, to events for the entire school. Grant, we call them mini grants where we can fund different things for the classroom. So we do provide, and we can get a copy to the board, but we do provide a document to parents at the start of the year talking about it. So while we fundraise, we don't fundraise for one specific event for one thing. Like when we sell Smensels, it doesn't say that that exact money is going to fund the father-daughter dance. It's really like the cumulative of it all, but we do provide that to the parents.
I would just encourage, and maybe this is something if the PTO still meets, that we should all get together and review the policy. You know, because there are a lot of parents that are not happy about things, so I think maybe this should be something addressed through PTOC.
Well, especially
Just
now.
everybody on the same page.
Yeah, I think that would be a really good idea. I know there's a meeting on Monday.
There's a PTOC meeting at the end of this month.
Oh,
TMS,
okay.
TMS has a PTO meeting tomorrow.
Yeah, but it would be better to do it at PTOC
Yeah.
where there's representation from
All
the
of
whole
them.
district.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. And Nikki, to your point of saying, well, some of the accounts have a lot of money in because obviously you couldn't fund any events. So I think that leads to the question is, why are we still fundraising if we haven't used any of the money that we already have? So I think that's part of the questioning that's going on. I'm not taking a side. I'm just trying to look at it objectively. You know, that's all.
No, I think it's a totally valid point, and I think things like spirit wear is not necessarily fundraising. I don't know that we make
Yeah.
any money on it. I think it's more of the school spirit, and I know as a committee, we've been trying really, really hard to bring engagement up for both teachers, for students, just trying to get kind of morale up while we can't all be together and do the events that we've typically done. So we've spent a lot of time just trying to figure that out in different ways to do events and virtually and things like that. But I don't think spirit wear just specifically, because I know that's a really hot topic, is not technically a fundraiser, but I hear what you guys are saying in terms of, but I do think getting together as a PTOC, if there's direction to be had, because there's a lot of confusion that happens.
Would be
because
good.
of the
Even
different
if it's simple, if that's the case, it would have been, I think the parents should have known this is just for no money's being profited. So I think it'd be good to talk about in PTOC, because there's so much confusion right now.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, blame it
Yeah.
on the COVID.
Well, no in-person.
say
meetings
just
and-
for-
yeah, stuff like
Just
that.
for the record, we have not received any of that feedback. So just like, it's not like it's going through the principals and coming down to like, we have not heard that before. The PTO has not, so
Okay.
just, for the record.
Any other questions or comments on student activities? Ed?
Just one other thing, just now more than ever, because part of the policy too is they have to, all of the student activities have to do a letter of intent of their carryover money
Yeah,
um,
okay.
by,
Oh,
Well, I think I asked Ed about that and he said he received them
Yeah.
from all the PTOs.
I think this year probably is going to be a lot more money. so
Right,
it'd be
right.
more important to make
Right.
sure everyone stays on top of that.
Yeah,
okay.
and that's stated in the policy.
When is that due? I know it usually comes from the principal, but has that gone?
Or May,
April, I think,
April.
Okay, that's what I
May
thought.
1st, I think it is, but you're supposed to submit it in April,
right.
which will be here before we know it, believe it
Yep.
or not.
That's for sure.
I know.
Ed, do you have any questions or comments?
No, this has actually been pretty enlightening. We've talked about some stuff that I wasn't familiar with. So thanks, everybody.
Very cool. All right. Comments for the good of the order? Gary?
I'm looking forward to budget season.
I can't share Mr. Euclid's. This is a good meeting.
The funds to be in.
And then on screen, Mr. Lafreniere. That's okay.
I would just like to reiterate what I heard at the end of the last meeting. Teachers, staff, and students are working hard. Students are learning. And thank you for the upfront communication with everything going on with COVID. And I'm excited to get my vaccine appointment email, as I know others are, this coming Monday, hopefully.
Okay. Ms. Fabiano,
I'm all set, thanks.
Mr. Corey,
I just want to thank the chair of the committee for running an efficient and on-topic meeting.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
I concur.
Laura Kay.
I haven't been called Laura Kay in a long time.
I know. I'm nostalgic. I'm nostalgic.
No, I don't have anything. Just everybody stay healthy. Good to see you.
Ms. Toder,
I'm all set, thanks.
Mr. Aaron,
All set, moving forward.
We're getting that done.
Marissa, great minutes. I know you don't want to talk, so I'm just going to give you some feedback. All right. Ms. Harold,
I'm good, thank you.
Ms. Ferguson,
No, thank you. Good night, everybody.
Ms. Lomsky.
I just want to thank Ed for still zooming on in and keeping us up to date, even though you're down in hopefully sunny Florida. We're all jealous.
Mr. Barlow.
I'm good, thanks.
Yes.
I did. I hit Nikki, right? I hit everybody on the
Yeah.
screen.
Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Oh, I missed
Mr.
Sue.
Pettis, huh?
Sue.
No, she had to step
Oh,
off.
she left. Okay, all right. And then Mr. Barlow.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, no, it was a good meeting. some new information I didn't know, so that's good. It's always good to learn. Topics for future meeting, budget. What else? COVID expenses. Monthly financials. And well, student activities, we'll see if we can get those, make sure that's all squared away with who needs to be on the accounts and who needs to be off the accounts. Please. Mr. Aram, anything else for budget meeting next month?
No, we're moving right ahead with, hopefully we'll have a bigger surplus next month with electricity and gas and social security.
Okay, great. Very good. All right. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Adjourned 8:07.